The betrayal. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council stretched before Ambassador Marcus Chin like a cathedral built for giants. Crystalline walls rose 300 feet high, catching starlight from the real sky visible through the transparent dome above. 243 species had gathered here today, representatives from every corner of known space. They sat in ascending rings around the central platform where Marcus stood, alone except for his beating heart and the weight of 60 years of human hope. Marcus was 51 years old. His black hair had begun to show silver at the temples. His hands, clasped behind his back, were steady. They had to be. Behind him, in the observation gallery, sat Dr. Sarah Mitchell and General Nathan Cross. Sarah was humanity's greatest scientist, a woman who had helped decode alien mathematics and share Earth's medical discoveries freely with the Council. Nathan was the commander of Earth's defense fleet, a soldier who had spent 3 decades keeping human ships peaceful and human actions honorable. They were there as witnesses to what everyone believed would be humanity's greatest triumph. 60 years ago, Earth had made first contact with the Galactic Council. Humanity had been young then, barely past their own world wars, still learning to see themselves as one species instead of divided nations. The Council had offered provisional membership. A trial period. Humanity had accepted with gratitude and worked every day since to prove themselves worthy. They had followed every law. They had signed every treaty. They had shared their art, their music, their science. They had sent aid to disaster zones and medicine to plagues. They had done everything right. Now came the vote for permanent membership. The right to call themselves equals among the stars. The right to be heard, to be protected, to belong. The High Arbiter stood at the Council's center podium. She was a being called a Valerian, tall and elegant with skin like polished bronze and eyes that held 3 pupils each. Her voice carried through the chamber without need for amplification. The matter before this council is clear. The species known as humans requests permanent membership. They have completed their provisional period. We shall now vote. Marcus felt his pulse quicken but kept his face calm. This was the moment. Everything humanity had worked for would be decided in the next few minutes. The first vote came from the Kelmar Collective, a group mind species that spoke as one. Their representative, a cluster of small crystalline beings, glowed blue. The Kelmar vote yes. Humanity has shown dedication and growth. Marcus allowed himself to breathe. The Kelmar had always been fair. More votes followed. Yes from the Threne Empire. Yes from the solitary monks of Kresh. Yes from the small peaceful traders called the Pinnix. Marcus counted each one like precious stones. 15 yes votes. 20. 25. Then something changed. The representative from the Korthax Dominion, a massive creature with 6 arms and armor-plated skin, rose to speak. The Dominion votes no. Humanity is too aggressive. Too unpredictable. They expand too quickly and ask too many questions. Marcus blinked. The Dominion had been trading partners with Earth for 40 years. Their ambassador had visited Marcus's home just last month and called him friend. More no votes followed like a dam breaking. The Unified Planets vote no. The Star Assembly votes no. The Confederacy of Light votes no. Species that had smiled at Marcus in hallways now refused to meet his eyes. Species that had called humanity promising now turned away. Sarah's hand gripped the gallery railing so hard her knuckles went white. Nathan's jaw was set like stone. When the voting ended, the High Arbiter read the results with a voice that held no emotion. 178 votes against. 65 votes in favor. The motion for permanent membership fails. The words hit Marcus like physical blows. But the Arbiter was not finished. She raised one bronze hand and the chamber fell completely silent. Furthermore, this council has determined that humanity represents a potential threat to galactic stability. Your species has shown concerning patterns. You are too warlike. Too expansionist. Too quick to see danger where none exists. Therefore, effective immediately, humanity is designated a containment species. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Marcus stood frozen. A containment species. Those words were usually reserved for civilizations that had tried to conquer others or commit genocide. Species that were locked away for the safety of the galaxy. The Arbiter continued. All humans must return to the Sol system within 30 standard days. All trade agreements are hereby cancelled. All treaties are void. A barrier will be constructed around your system. No human may leave. No outside contact will be permitted. This is for the safety of all civilized species. Marcus found his voice. It came out quiet but it cut through the noise like a blade. This is wrong. The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to him. We warned you about the Void Swarm, Marcus said. His voice grew stronger. 3 years ago we detected them. Massive organic ships moving through the dark spaces between galaxies. We brought you evidence. We showed you the readings. We begged you to prepare. The Void Swarm is coming. They will consume everything in their path. They will not stop. They will not negotiate. And you respond to our warning by locking us in a cage? The High Arbiter looked down at him with something that might have been pity or might have been contempt. The Void Swarm is a human myth. A fantasy born of paranoia. This is precisely why containment is necessary. Your species sees threats in shadows. You are too prone to fear and too quick to violence. The vote is final. Humanity will return to Sol and remain there. Marcus felt cold rage settle in his chest. He looked around the chamber at all the species who had just condemned his people. Some looked guilty. Many looked relieved. A few looked pleased, as if humanity getting locked away was something they had wanted all along. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 12 years old and dreamed of exploring distant worlds. He thought about all the human children who would now grow up in a cage. He thought about the Void Swarm that would come one day and find these species unprepared. I want to say something, Marcus announced. His voice was steady now. As humanity's last words to this council. The Arbiter hesitated, then nodded. Speak. Marcus took a breath. He looked at Sarah and Nathan in the gallery. Sarah had tears running down her face. Nathan looked ready to fight his way out of the building. Marcus shook his head slightly at them. Not yet. Not like this. You have made your choice, Marcus said to the council. You have decided humanity is too dangerous to be free. Too aggressive to be trusted. You have decided to lock us away and forget we exist. So here is what I say to you. He paused. The chamber was absolutely silent. Go. The single word hung in the air. Marcus smiled. It was not a warm smile. Go and build your perfect peaceful galaxy without the dangerous humans to worry about. Go and face whatever comes next on your own. Go and forget we ever existed. He turned toward the exit. Then he looked back over his shoulder. Then come back to me. The High Arbiter frowned. What does that mean? Marcus walked toward the door. Security guards stepped aside to let him pass. They seemed uncertain whether to stop him or not. It means exactly what I said, Marcus called back. Go. Then come back to me. When you understand what those words mean, you will already be too late. He walked out of the chamber. Sarah and Nathan rushed to join him. The three humans left the Galactic Council building and stepped out under alien stars. Behind them, 243 species sat in confused silence. None of them understood what Marcus had meant. They would learn. The evacuation took 29 days of chaos and heartbreak. 15 million humans lived and worked across Council space. Scientists on research stations. Doctors in alien hospitals. Teachers in cultural exchange programs. Families who had built homes on distant worlds and thought they would live there forever. All of them had to come home. General Nathan Cross commanded the evacuation from the battleship Prometheus, positioned at the edge of Sol system. He was a large man with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. He had spent his career building trust with alien species and preventing conflicts. Now he watched that trust burn away like paper in fire. Status report, Nathan said to his operations officer. 11 million returned safely, sir. 4 million still scattered across the galaxy. Some are in hiding. Some are trapped. Some refuse to leave. Nathan nodded grimly. We get everyone. Every single human comes home. I don't care if we have to drag them. But it was not that simple. Some species made it deliberately difficult. They delayed human ships with false inspections. They closed spaceports without warning. A few attacked human vessels outright, claiming self-defense against the dangerous containment species. 23 transport ships were destroyed in those 29 days. Over 6,000 humans died trying to come home. Nathan kept a list of every name, every ship, every species that had fired on unarmed transports. He locked that list in a safe in his quarters. One day that list would matter. On the 30th day, the barrier activated. A wall of energy surrounded the entire Sol system like a shell. Nothing could pass through it. No ships, no signals, no light. From the outside, it looked like humanity had simply vanished. The galaxy celebrated. The dangerous humans were gone. The threat was contained. Peace could continue. Inside the barrier, humanity began to change. The first years were terrible. Earth had depended on Council trade for rare elements, advanced medicines, and faster-than-light fuel. All of that stopped. Supply chains collapsed. People went hungry. The old governments fractured as nations blamed each other for the disaster. There were riots. There were wars. Marcus Chin watched from his apartment in Geneva as the world seemed to tear itself apart. His daughter asked him why the aliens hated them. He had no answer that made sense. But then something unexpected happened. Humanity stopped fighting itself. A woman named Dr. Sarah Mitchell stood before what remained of Earth's government 3 years after the containment began. She was 45 years old with steel-gray hair and eyes that burned with purpose. She had been humanity's chief science liaison to the Council. Now she had a different mission. "We have 2 choices," Sarah told the emergency assembly. Representatives from every nation on Earth had gathered to hear her. "We can sit here and feel sorry for ourselves until we die. Or we can use this time." She activated a hologram. It showed the Sol system surrounded by the barrier, and beyond that barrier, the dark spaces where the Void Swarm waited. "The Council thinks they have locked us in a prison. I say they have given us a fortress. A place to build. A place to prepare. A place to become something they cannot imagine." The assembly was silent. Sarah continued. "The Void Swarm is real. Marcus Chen was right. In 40 or 50 years, they will reach Council space. They will not stop until they consume everything. The barrier will not protect us. Nothing will protect us except strength. And right now, we are not strong enough." She pressed another button. New images appeared. Plans for ships unlike anything humanity had ever built. Weapons that could crack moons. Shields that could withstand stars. Armor forged from materials that did not yet exist. "This is Project Phoenix," Sarah said. The name came from the ancient myth of the bird that burned and rose again from its own ashes. "We are going to rise from this betrayal stronger than before. We are going to build a fleet that makes the Council's greatest warships look like toys. We are going to develop technology they have never imagined. And when the time comes, when they realize they need us, we are going to be ready." A representative from the Asian coalition stood. "Ready for what? Revenge?" Sarah shook her head. "No. Ready to save them. Because that is what humanity does. We do not become monsters just because monsters betrayed us. We rise above. We become better. We prove that locking us away was the biggest mistake they ever made." The vote was unanimous. Every nation agreed. Every resource on Earth and throughout the Sol system would go toward Project Phoenix. Humanity would prepare. Humanity would build. Humanity would rise. The asteroid belt became a massive shipyard. Millions of workers carved factories inside dead rocks where no one could see. Mars became a weapons research facility. The moons of Jupiter housed experimental drives that bent the laws of physics. Every human worked toward the same goal. Children were born who had never seen the barrier come down. They grew up hearing stories of the betrayal and learning to build the future. Marcus Chen lived to see the first prototype warship completed. He was 73 years old and his health was failing. But when they wheeled him to the observation deck to see the ship, he wept. It was beautiful. Sleek lines, weapons that glowed with contained power, engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. "She needs a name," the chief engineer said. Marcus smiled. "Call her Hope. Because that is what we are building." He died 3 weeks later. His daughter, now a woman with children of her own, scattered his ashes in space near the barrier. She whispered his final words. "Go. Then come back to me. We remember, Father. And we will be ready." 60 years passed inside the barrier. Outside, the galaxy forgot about humanity. They went back to their comfortable lives. They ignored the dark spaces where something ancient and hungry was moving closer. Lieutenant Maya Torres was 25 years old when she graduated top of her class from the academy. She had been born after the containment. She had never seen an alien or walked on a world that was not human. But she had studied the history. She knew every detail of the betrayal. She knew what her people had been building for 6 decades. "What do you think you will do when the barrier comes down?" her instructor asked during her final evaluation. Maya looked at him steadily. "I will do what Ambassador Chen told them to do. I will go. And when they realize they need us, I will come back to them. And I will save them even though they do not deserve it. Because that is what humanity does." The instructor smiled. "Then you understand. Welcome to the fleet, Lieutenant." 10 years later, Maya Torres stood on the bridge of the battleship Redemption as a captain. She was 35 years old with sharp eyes and steady hands. Around her, thousands of ships were preparing. The fleet was complete. 100 years had passed since the betrayal. Project Phoenix was ready. General Nathan Cross, now 97 years old and still alive through sheer stubborn will, gave the final order from Earth. "All ships prepare for barrier breach. Today we return to the galaxy. Today we show them what humanity has become. And when we are done, they will understand what Marcus Chen meant. Go, then come back to me. The waiting is over." The fleet moved forward as one. 10,000 warships carrying a century of preparation. The barrier that had held humanity prisoner for 100 years shattered like glass. And humanity stepped out into the stars once more. The galaxy was about to learn what happens when you cage the one species that could have saved you. The return. The first human ship to cross the barrier in 100 years was a small scout vessel called the Pathfinder. Captain Maya Torres had chosen to lead the reconnaissance herself. She sat in the pilot's seat watching the energy wall dissolve before her like morning fog. Behind her, 10,000 warships waited in formation. Ahead of her lay the galaxy that had abandoned humanity a century ago. Pathfinder to Fleet Command, Maya said into her communicator. I am through the barrier. Beginning sweep of Sector 7. The response came from Admiral Chen, grandson of the legendary Marcus Chen. He was 40 years old and carried his grandfather's calm determination. Understood, Captain. Stay alert. We don't know what we'll find out there. Maya flew deeper into what had once been Council space. The star maps she had studied showed busy trade routes and crowded stations. But all she found was silence. The first planet she approached had been a major hub according to the old records. 5 billion beings had lived there. 3 different species sharing one world in harmony. The Council had called it a model of cooperation. Now it was a dead rock. The cities were rubble. The oceans had been boiled away. The atmosphere was poison. Nothing remained alive. Fleet Command, I have found the Thelon colony, Maya reported. Her voice was steady but her hands gripped the controls tighter. There is nothing left. Complete destruction. She moved to the next system. Then the next. Every world told the same story. Devastation. Death. Emptiness. Finally, she found something. A distress beacon floating in space, its power nearly exhausted. The message it carried repeated over and over in a dozen languages. Emergency warning. The Void Swarm has breached the outer rim. All ships evacuate immediately. Do not attempt to fight. Run. Hide. Pray. Maya felt ice in her veins. The Void Swarm. The threat Marcus Chen had warned about 100 years ago. The danger the Council had called a human myth. Fleet Command, the swarm is real. They have already hit this sector. Heavy casualties. I'm going to search for survivors. Negative, Captain, Admiral Chen responded. Return to the fleet. We need to assess the situation. Maya thought about that order. She thought about the dead world she had just passed. She thought about her grandfather's grandfather standing in that council chamber and being called paranoid. She thought about what humanity had spent a century becoming. Fleet Command, I am going to search for survivors. Court-martial me when I get back. She switched off the communicator and flew toward a nearby asteroid field where her sensors had detected faint life signs. It took 4 hours to find them. A small station hidden inside a hollow asteroid, running on minimum power to avoid detection. Maya docked carefully. Her combat suit had weapons built into every surface, but she kept them holstered. She stepped through the airlock into a corridor lit only by emergency lights. The beings who met her were not human. They had pale blue skin and 4 arms. They were thin from hunger and they were pointing primitive projectile weapons at her chest. Please, Maya said in the Council's common language. She raised her hand slowly. I am not here to hurt you. I am here to help. The aliens did not lower their weapons. One of them spoke in a harsh, clicking language Maya did not recognize. But then a voice came from behind them. A human voice. Let her through. She's one of ours. A man pushed through the crowd. He was in his 60s with gray hair and a face marked by hardship. He wore clothes that were patched and repatched. He stared at Maya like she was a ghost. That uniform, he said. That's Earth Fleet. But that's impossible. Humanity died. The containment killed everyone. The whole galaxy knows this. Maya pulled off her helmet. Her dark hair fell to her shoulders. She smiled at him. Not dead. Just waiting. My name is Captain Maya Torres. I'm from Earth. And I promise you, humanity is very much alive. The man's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the floor. Torres. Like Ambassador Marcus Torres who spoke at the Council. Marcus Chen was my great-great-grandfather, Maya said gently. His words have been passed down through my family. Go, then come back to me. We went. Now we're coming back. Tears ran down the man's face. My name is Daniel Park. My grandparents were scientists on a Council research station when the containment happened. They couldn't make it home in time. They've been running ever since. I was born on a refugee ship. He looked up at Maya. What happened? Why did you come back now? Maya knelt beside him. Because we're ready. And because you need us. Tell me about the Void Swarm. Daniel's face went pale. They came 15 years ago. At first it was just rumors from the far colonies. Then we saw them. Living ships the size of cities. Billions of them moving through space like a cloud of locusts. They consume everything. Planets, stations, ships, everything. The Council tried to fight. They had the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. It lasted 3 months. He stood up slowly. Maya helped him. The council fell apart after that. Species blamed each other. Old alliances broke. Some tried to run. Some tried to hide. Most just died. The survivors scattered. We've been hiding in places like this, hoping the swarm doesn't find us. Maya felt anger burn in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. What about the council itself? The High Arbiter and the government? Daniel laughed. It was a broken sound. They're in the core systems somewhere. Still pretending they're in charge. Still giving orders that nobody follows. They blamed humanity, you know. Said the swarm came because Earth provoked them somehow. Said if they had contained humanity sooner, none of this would have happened. Maya's jaw tightened. Of course they did. It's easier to blame us than admit they were wrong. She touched Daniel's shoulder. Come with me. Come home. Daniel shook his head. Home? I've never been to Earth. It's just a story my grandmother told me. A fairy tale about a world where humans lived free. Maya led him to a viewport. Outside, more ships were arriving. Not small scouts. These were warships. Massive vessels with smooth hulls and weapons that glowed with barely contained power. 10,000 of them filling the space around the asteroid field like an ocean of steel and fire. Daniel pressed his hand against the glass. His whole body shook. How many? He whispered. 10,000 warships, Maya said. 5 million soldiers. Technology that makes the old council fleet look like children's toys. We spent 100 years building this. Building it for this exact moment. She smiled at him. We're going to destroy the Void Swarm. We're going to save everyone we can. And we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you try to cage humanity. Why? Daniel turned to her. His face was wet with tears. The council betrayed you. They locked you away to die. Most of these species wanted you gone. Why would you save them? Maya thought about her training. She thought about the words her instructors had taught her. She thought about Marcus Chen standing alone in that council chamber and choosing dignity over revenge. Because that is what humans do, she said quietly. We don't become monsters just because monsters hurt us. We fight. We survive. And we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even if they don't deserve it. Within hours, the fleet had rescued everyone from the asteroid station. Human soldiers carried alien children to safety. Human doctors treated wounds that had gone untreated for years. Human engineers repaired ships that had been running on hope and prayers. Daniel watched it all with wonder in his eyes. The council said humans were too aggressive, he said to Maya. Too violent. Too dangerous. Maya nodded. They were right. We are all those things. But we're something else too. Something they forgot. She watched a young human soldier gently bandaging the arm of a small blue alien child who had been crying in fear just moments before. We're also kind. And when you lock kindness behind a wall for 100 years, it doesn't go away. It just gets stronger. It just waits for the chance to prove itself. The fleet spread across the sector like a healing wave. Every hidden station, every refugee camp, every survivor of the council's collapse and the swarm's hunger. Human ships found them all. And to each one, they delivered the same message. Earth remembers who stood with us. We have come to bring you home. 3 days later, Admiral Chen sent a broadcast to every functioning station in the galaxy. It cut through all other communications like a sword through silk. This is Admiral Alexander Chen of the Earth Fleet speaking to the remnants of the Galactic Council. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of a century of betrayal. 100 years ago, you locked humanity behind a barrier and left us to die. You called us dangerous. You called us aggressive. You called us paranoid for warning you about the Void Swarm. You were wrong about all of it. On the last council station orbiting a dying star, the remaining council members watched the broadcast with faces gone pale. The current High Arbiter was not the same being who had ordered humanity's containment. That one had died decades ago. But the species and systems were the same. They had maintained the lies. They had kept humanity locked away even as their civilization crumbled. The Void Swarm destroyed your civilization, Admiral Chen continued. The same swarm you called a myth. The same threat you ignored while you celebrated putting humans in a cage. Now that swarm is approaching your final strongholds. And now you're begging us for help. The Admiral paused. When he spoke again, his voice was harder. Here is my answer. We will destroy the Void Swarm. We will save everyone we can. But we won't do it for you. We'll do it for the innocent. For the species who stood with us and were punished for their kindness. For the refugees you abandoned. For every life that was lost because of your cowardice. He leaned forward. His eyes were his grandfather's eyes. When this is over, you will face justice. Not revenge. Justice. The humans you feared so much will show you what real civilization looks like. And you will spend the rest of your days knowing that the monsters you created were better than you ever deserved. The broadcast ended. 2 days later, the Void Swarm arrived in force. They came in numbers that blotted out the stars. 2 billion creatures moving through space like a living nightmare. Each one was the size of a large building with armor like black stone and weapons that grew from their bodies like claws and teeth. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They only consumed. The remains of the Council fleet tried to run. 3,000 ships fleeing in every direction. The swarm caught them within minutes. In 1 hour, half the fleet was destroyed. Then humanity arrived. Admiral Chen commanded from the flagship Redemption. 10,000 warships moved in perfect formation. Their engines burned bright against the darkness. Beside them flew ships from the loyal species. The ones who had voted yes 100 years ago. The Kelmar Collective. The Phoenix Traders. The Thelon refugees. All those who had stood with humanity and suffered for it. Now they stood together again. All ships, weapons free, Admiral Chen said calmly. Show them what we learned in the dark. The first wave of swarm creatures died before they understood what was happening. Human weapons fired beams of pure energy that erased matter at the molecular level. Missiles that bent space itself to reach their targets. Cannons that could punch holes through planets. The technology humanity had developed in 100 years of isolation made the swarm's organic armor useless. But there were so many of them. For every swarm creature that died, 10 more took its place. They swarmed over human ships like insects. Their claws scraped against shields. Their acid burned through armor. 3 human ships were destroyed in the first minutes. Then 5 more. Then 10. Maya Torres commanded a squadron of smaller warships. She flew through the battle like a dancer through chaos. Her ship's weapons fired continuously. Her crew worked with the efficiency of people who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Squadron 7, form up on me, Maya ordered. We're going for the big one. In the center of the swarm mass was a creature 10 times larger than the others. It pulsed with sickly light. Maya's sensors indicated it was coordinating the swarm's movements. A queen or a command node. She pushed her engines to maximum. Her squadron followed. 20 ships diving into the heart of the enemy. Swarm creatures swarmed around them. Maya's gunner destroyed them by the dozens, but more kept coming. Captain, shields at 40%, her engineer reported. We're not going to make it through. Yes we are, Maya said. She thought about her great-great-grandfather. She thought about his final words. She thought about 100 years of preparation. Fire everything. Full power to forward weapons. We're going through. Her ship's main cannon charged. It was a weapon that shouldn't exist. It used principles of physics that the Council had never discovered. It fired. The beam of energy punched through the swarm like light through smoke. It hit the massive central creature and kept going. The creature exploded in a burst of organic matter and toxic gas. Instantly, thousands of swarm creatures around it went dormant. They drifted in space like dead leaves. The command creature is dead, Maya reported. The swarm is fragmenting. Across the battlefield, human ships pressed their advantage. Without coordination, the swarm creatures fought individually. They were still dangerous but no longer overwhelming. One by one, they were destroyed. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the space around the last Council station was filled with debris and dead swarm creatures. 300 human ships had been destroyed. 15,000 human soldiers had died. But the swarm was broken. The survivors were fleeing back into dark space. Admiral Chen broadcast to the entire fleet. All ships, cease fire. Begin rescue operations. I want every survivor found and brought to safety. Every species. Every ship. No one gets left behind. The rescued Council members watched from their station as human ships moved through the debris field. They watched human soldiers pull alien survivors from wrecked vessels. They watched human doctors treat the wounded without asking which species they were or how they had voted 100 years ago. The current High Arbiter, a being with silver scales and wise old eyes, contacted Admiral Chen directly. Admiral, we owe you our lives. Humanity has saved us all. We were wrong. About everything. About the swarm. About your people. About what containment would do. We were wrong and we are sorry. Admiral Chen looked at the High Arbiter through the video link. His face showed no anger. Only sadness. Your apology means nothing to the humans who died during the evacuation. It means nothing to the refugees who spent a century hiding and starving. It means nothing to my great-grandfather who warned you and was called paranoid. But I will accept it anyway. Because that is what humanity does. He leaned back in his chair. Here's what happens now. The barrier around Seoul comes down. Humanity will help rebuild. We will share our technology. We will protect the weak and defend the innocent. And you will establish a new council. One where all species are treated as equals. One where fear does not drive policy. One where warning of danger is met with preparation, not imprisonment. The Arbiter nodded slowly. It will be done. Whatever humanity asks, we will. We're not asking, Admiral Chen interrupted. We're telling. Because we won. We survived what you thought would kill us. We built what you thought was impossible. And we saved you even though you didn't deserve it. So now you listen. He stood up. Behind him, Maya Torres and the other senior officers stood as well. My great-grandfather Marcus Chen said something to this council 100 years ago. He told you to go, then come back to him. You didn't understand what he meant. You thought it was just anger. Just bitterness. But it wasn't. Admiral Chen smiled. It was his grandfather's smile. It was a promise. He promised that humanity would survive. That we would grow stronger. That we would become something you never imagined. And he promised that when you finally understood your mistake, when you finally came back to us for help, we would be ready. And we would save you. Not because you deserved it. But because saving people is what humanity does. The Arbiter closed her eyes. We understand now. The words were a prophecy. No, Admiral Chen said softly. They were a choice. My great-grandfather chose to believe in humanity's future. He chose to believe we would rise above betrayal. He chose to believe we would become our best selves when tested. And he was right. The transmission ended. 10 years later, the new Galactic Council held its first session. It met in a hall on Earth, built in Geneva near where Marcus Chen had once lived. 243 species attended. But now there were new members too. The refugee species. The hidden survivors. The ones who had been forgotten. Every voice was equal. Every vote mattered. Captain Maya Torres, now an admiral herself, stood at the podium. She was 45 years old with gray in her hair and pride in her eyes. This council is founded on principles that humanity learned the hard way, she announced. We learned that strength without mercy is tyranny. That fear without wisdom is cowardice. That safety without freedom is just another cage. We learned these lessons in the dark. Behind a barrier that was meant to destroy us. And now we share these lessons with all of you. She smiled. My great-great-grandfather Marcus Chen spoke to the old council 100 years ago. He told them to go, then come back to him. Today I say something different to all of you. Stay. Build with us. Learn with us. Grow with us. Because humanity doesn't want to stand alone in the stars. We want to stand together. The council chamber erupted in applause. Every species. Every voice. Together. That night, Maya stood at Marcus Chen's memorial. It was a simple stone in a garden with his words carved into it. Go, then come back to me. She placed her hand on the cold stone. We did it, grandfather, she whispered. They came back. They understood. And we were ready. Just like you knew we would be. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the void swarm still existed. There would be more battles. More challenges. More tests. But humanity would face them. Not alone. Not caged. But free and standing with friends they had earned through mercy instead of fear. The galaxy had betrayed humanity once. Humanity had responded by becoming its savior. That was the answer Marcus Chen had promised. That was the response that changed everything. Humanity had gone into the darkness. And when they came back, they brought the light with them.